Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Scripture You Can Relate To podcast, how to make Scripture relevant to your everyday life. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Scripture You Can Relate To podcast is produced every Friday by Pastor Ricky Shear. For your convenience, you can download the show notes at www.scriptureyoucanrelateto.com. Come back often, and please add this podcast to your iTunes playlist. Now, let's get on to this week's episode.
Luke chapter 2 verse 12 says, "And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger." Long ago, there used to be a store in downtown Cincinnati called Giddings Jennings. It was a store for the upper echelon. In fact, you had to walk from a couple of other high-class stores through an arcade just to get to this store. Well, one of my older sisters worked there in the gift wrapping department. At that time in her life, she was young and she couldn't afford many things in the store herself. But they would let her use their gift boxes and wrapping paper free. That was one of the benefits. Their wrapping paper was the good stuff, thick foils of silver, gold, and other royal colors, along with expensive ribbons and bows. Well, I'm from a family of 8, and I remember the Christmas morning scenes as a child. Since we all got gifts for one another, the floor would be covered with gifts. Yet you could tell which gifts were from my sister, because those packages just stood out in the crowd with all the fancy wrapping and bows. On Christmas morning, we would be ripping through all the gifts. Well, almost all. When we got to the gifts wrapped by my sister, my mother would say, "Slow down and take it easy with the wrapping paper. We can reuse the wrapping. We can save it for some later use." Well, I say all of that to say that as we celebrate the birth of Christ, let us be reminded that it would not be the last time that Jesus would be wrapped in tender love and care. It wouldn't be Joseph of Bethlehem, but Joseph of Arimathea, who took the body of Jesus from the cross. So as we celebrate the wonders of the crib, let us not forget the work of the cross. For it is his work at the cross that makes the gift complete. And you can receive this gift by simply believing the report. What is the report? That God stepped into the world he created in the person of Jesus Christ. He took on flesh and dwelt among mankind. Paying the penalty of sin, which is death, he was crucified, buried, and on the third day rose from the dead. Jesus Christ is the best gift I've ever received. And I'm still unwrapping him today. I'm still learning of the wonders of my gift. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Well, that concludes this podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this podcast has been helpful to you and you will continue to reflect on it and begin to apply it to your life. For a transcript of this podcast and notes for a journal, visit www.scriptureyoucanrelateto.com. Thank you.